Hey, what's up? If you haven't had it, a Roman gnocchi is an all semolina flour dumpling made from milk, cheese, butter, and eggs. It's crispy on the outside and super cheesy, light, and fluffy on the inside, but the problem is that in the US at least, it's usually just a restaurant dish. So today, I'm gonna show you how to make a Roman style gnocchi at home from scratch, along with a jammy, fresh, height of the season tomato sauce that in and of itself is pretty special and unique. To get started, I'll grab a heavy bottom pot, in this case a 6.5 quart Dutch oven, and I'll drop it on the stove. Into that, I'll measure 1,200 grams or milliliters of whole milk, a whole stick of butter, and then 12 grams of salt. Now, I'll bring this up to a simmer, but slowly over low heat because milk loves to get stuck onto the bottom of pots and scorches really easy. 5 minutes later, once the milk is simmering, I'm going to use a whisk to get things moving, and then I'll sprinkle in 275 grams of semolina flour. You'll notice that I'm whisking this pretty vigorously. That's because the starch molecules in the semolina flour will gelatinize almost instantly when they hit hot liquid and will clump if I don't keep it stirred. Also, I'm using a rubber-coated whisk here because a metal one would just absolutely destroy the coating on this Dutch oven. After 30 to 40 seconds of constant stirring, the semolina has absorbed just about all of the milk and butter, and now it's very thick. From here, I'm going to cook this for another 15 minutes or so over very low heat to further gelatinize the starch and to cook off a little bit of the moisture. From here, I'm going to switch over to a wooden spoon and continue to cook this for another 10 to 15 minutes, stirring every 5 minutes or so while also scraping up the bottom of the pot so nothing gets scorched. I'm going to let that keep on cooking while I sort out the last bit of prep here. For that, I've got 125 grams of grated parmesan and 5 large egg yolks. To get the parmesan grated, I just hit it on the small raspy side of my box grater. I find that cheese incorporates with cooked flour a lot easier when it's broken down super far into cheese dust, basically. For the large egg yolks, I just separated those by passing them in between my fingers as opposed to using the back and forth shell technique. I always break the yolks with the sharp edges of the shell, so I just use my bare hands. I'm also going to hit this quarter sheet tray with a little bit of pan spray, or a lot of pan spray. If you don't have a quarter sheet tray, just use a regular half sheet, but be prepared to push the cooked gnocchi into one half of it. Back at the stove, my gnocchi dough has been slowly cooking for 15 minutes or so, and as you can see, it's super thickened and looks like very dry scrambled eggs. Now I'll take this off the stove and then add in my parmesan, my yolks, and then I'll grab my microplane and a little bit of nutmeg and grate that in there as well. Maybe a quarter teaspoon's worth. A little bit of nutmeg is good, a lot is not. Back in with my wooden spoon now, I'm going to give this a stir until everything is very well combined. Once it is, you can see that this is even thicker than before, but looks wetter and richer. That's from all that yolk and cheese fat that we just added in. Now I'll flip this dough onto my well lubed up quarter sheet tray, and then I'll spread it out as evenly as I can into all the corners. Then, if you have it, grab a second quarter sheet tray and spray the bottom to prevent stickage, and then press that right on top of the dough to create an even, flat layer. No need for smooth perfection here, just get it into the ballpark, and once it is, I'm going to move this tray of gnocchis over to the fridge to set up and fully chill for about a half hour. Next, I'm going to fill a heavy bottom pot with water and then drop it back on the stove over high heat and bring it to a boil. While that comes up, I'm going to grab 3 pounds of roughly 5-day medium large fresh tomatoes. This is a mix that I got at the farmer's market over the weekend. I've got some classic red slicing tomatoes here and a couple of heirloom purple ones as well. Now to make a proper fresh tomato sauce out of these, I need to remove the papery tough skin. So for that, I'm going to grab a tomato, make an X incision on the bottom side. I'll flip it over and then I'll carve out the entire stem end. That's where all the tough, flavorless white stuff is. Get all of it out of there best you can, and once I've got these scored and destemmed, I'm going to drop them into the boiling water over at the stove. In total, these should be in the water for about 45 to 60 seconds. All I'm looking to do here is just loosen the skin. If you boiled these too much, they would get mealy and pulpy and very hard to cut properly. At the 1 minute mark, I'll come back and check to see if the skin is loosened, and yeah, it's peeling off basically, so I'm going to take this one out, then the other 5. Now to remove the skin, I'll just kind of smush it. The hot water should have completely loosened it up, and that really shouldn't be hard at all. Next, I'm going to cut these tomatoes into a rustic dice. For that, I'll use a serrated knife and then cut horizontally a couple times on the bottom and then on the top. Then I'll slice this top to bottom 3 or 4 times. Then eventually I'll give it a nice small dice. This might seem like a lot of prep for just a tomato sauce, and it kind of is, but the end result is going to be quite different from canned tomato sauce, and in my opinion, something really special. I think of it almost like a jammy Italian tomato salsa, and it's only possible in summertime with very fresh tasting tomatoes. Once I've got these tomatoes all nicely diced up, I'm going to go ahead and strain off all this water that they're swimming in. If I cooked all these tomatoes down with this water, the amount of time that it would take to reduce this into a usable sauce would overcook the tomatoes and they would lose any edge of freshness that they might have. I am going to save the water though, because I might need it to adjust the consistency of the sauce later on. Now, let's cook this thing. For that, my Dutch oven is back on the stove and preheated over medium heat. Then in goes 75 grams of nice tasting olive oil, 150 grams of small diced onions, 25 grams of sliced garlic, 25 grams of chopped Calabrian chilies, and then a strong pinch of salt. By the way, I opted for sliced garlic here instead of minced because when it's cooked slowly and fully, it has a delightful texture with a round, mellow flavor. Calabrian chilies are also a pro move for tomato sauce, in my opinion. They're elegantly fruity, they have an intense but not painful heat, and they bring a little bit of briny acidity as well. I just chopped these chilies roughly, by the way. If you can't get them, I would say sub in a strong pinch of red chili flake instead. Now, back at the stove, I'll jump in with a wooden spoon and stir everything to combine. Once it is, I'll reduce the heat to low and then really gently fry these veggies in the style of soffrito. That's a Spanish cooking technique where the aromatic base of a dish is slowly cooked in a lot of oil, or under the fry, it's also known. The process is basically just slowly evaporating the moisture in the vegetables while not caramelizing them and infusing the oil at the same time. This makes for a very flavorful unified base for a sauce, and the oil itself becomes a deeply infused central part of the dish. After 15 minutes of gentle, slow frying this soffrito, I'm going to add in all of my diced tomatoes. I'll stir those in, and right away, I feel like this is too jammy and dry to cook into a nice saucy texture, so I'll add in a splash of my reserved tomato water, about 100 grams or a half cup. Now I'll bring that up to a simmer and cook gently over medium heat for about 15 minutes while I thank the sponsor of this video, Raycon. Raycon sent me a pair of their everyday earbuds a few months back, and as the over 50,000 5-star reviews on these things suggest, there's a lot to really like about them. I usually wear them when I'm listening to podcasts, cleaning up the kitchen, working out, or just general food eating while dancing. You know, the thing that everybody does. No matter how hard I dance too, these earbuds don't budge at all. They come with different sizes of these little gel tips so you can get a comfortable and secure fit even if you have weirdly sized ear canals. Another cool feature that I haven't tested because I'm a very responsible adult man is that these earbuds are sweat and water resistant, meaning that they're built to withstand an accidental left in pocket washing machine situation or being dropped from your pocket into a storm drain on the way into the YMCA. You know, like just in case that happens to you. And with these earbuds, you get a massive 8 hours of playtime. The charging case holds up to 32 hours of battery life, and you can choose to block out outside noise with the noise isolation feature. So to give these a try, click the link in my description or go to buyraycon.com/Lagerstrom to get 15% off your Raycon purchase. Again, that's buyraycon.com/Lagerstrom for 15% off. Thank you, Raycon. After 15 minutes of slow, gentle cooking, this sauce has reduced to the point where when I drag a spoon through it, it leaves a nice long trail. Now I'm going to add just a little bit more depth here by sneaking in 20 grams of tomato paste. This brings just a little bit more of that round cooked tomato flavor, as well as some sweetness to balance out all that bright tart acidity from the freshies. Once that's stirred in, I'm going to cook for another 5 minutes or so over low heat, and after that, I'm going to take it off the heat so that we can take a closer look. This sauce is really beautiful. It's thick, but not heavy in the least. It's shiny, velvety, and almost juicy looking. Before I call it done, I'm going to give it a final taste for seasoning. I think it needs just a pinch more salt, and that's it. A bright, simple, rustic summer tomato sauce. Like I said, it's almost like an Italian tomato salsa, and it's going to pair perfectly with what's next. After 30 minutes of setting up, these gnocchis are all the way cooled down and fully firmed up. To get them into their final form, I'm going to grab my ring molds, specifically the largest ring, and I'm going to punch it out into a clean, perfect circle. To do that, I'll find a corner, sink in the ring mold, and twist it to release the gnocchi from the rest of the pan. From there, I'll carefully lift it up and then carefully slide the cooked round of starch into my hand. Now we've got something with a really nice form factor that's going to look super pro on a plate. But that's the chef boy way of doing it, and if you wanted to utilize this entire pan without waste, I'd say just flip the gnocchis out onto a cutting board and then cut them into random squares. This is probably the way an Italian grandmother would actually do it, and I'm pretty sure that she would absolutely roast my ass for punching it into rounds. Squares or rounds, the next step here is going to be to sear these gnocchis. For that, I'll grab a 10-inch nonstick pan and drop it on the stove over medium-high heat. Once that's hot, in goes a long squiz of olive oil, like a lot. Then I'll lay in 2 of my gnocchis, or maybe they're called gnocchos. I'm not sure about that. If you're Italian, please let me know. Now I'm going to fry these over medium-high heat for about 2 minutes or just until they're getting nicely golden brown and crispy on each side. After 2 minutes, I'll come back and take a look, and as you can see, there's some beautiful color sneaking up under there, so I'm going to flip gnocchi 1, then number 2, and I'll let these fry on the backside for another 2 minutes or so. Now these gnocchis are looking beautifully crisped up on both sides and lightly golden brown, so it's time to plate them up. I'll start by shingling them on top of each other like this, then a few generous spoonfuls of my rustic fresh tomato sauce, then a few leaves of fresh basil to garnish, and then a ton of freshly grated aged Parmesan cheese. And that's a comforting but still light and bright plate of summertime food. The tomato sauce is robust and meaty, but still has some natural tomato acidity. And thanks to the copious amounts of olive oil in there, it has a really silky, luxurious texture. The gnocchi themselves are tender, crispy, fluffy, and cheesy. I mean, look at that. That is so much more fun than just plain pasta. If you want something that's unique, fresh, and very good tasting with a ton of comforting payoff, I think this is it, and I hope you try it soon. Let's eat this thing.